The community on Flinders Island in Bass Strait is keen to follow the example of neighbouring King Island and add value and prestige to its farm output. But like much of regional Australia, it's been faced with a dwindling population and ageing farmers. Despite the numerous challenges associated with living in relative isolation, farmers are embracing technology and looking forward to the future. They're also hoping to reopen the Abattoir to help market the Flinders Island brand. And there's one very well-kept secret that might just attract a new generation of farmers. Martin Cuddihy reports from Flinders Island.
I've been probably back here for 2 years and I love the lifestyle. I love the rewards of farming and the fact that you can get to the end of the day and you can look back and see everything that you've done and the positive changes that we've made to the farm probably in the last couple of years. Yeah, it's certainly fantastic to be home.
Flinders Island locals proudly argue this is God's country. The Klug family have been here for almost 40 years. The last few seasons have been especially kind.
We've been able to enjoy the feed that's here, and the stock have really finished very well. But this bit of rain just at the moment is a bit of a blessing, but that's the result of living in heaven.
Less than 100 kilometres off the northeast coast of Tasmania, Flinders Island is quality grazing country with a reputation for producing premium beef and milk-fed lamb. Farming really got a kick on here after the Second World War, thanks to a soldier settlement scheme that drew people to the island, mostly from Tasmania and Victoria. But today, this close-knit community is facing the same challenges as regional centres across the country. While the size of farms has expanded, fewer workers are now needed to run them, so the island's population has steadily dwindled, from more than 1,200 residents 30 years ago to 800 now.
When I first came here, there were probably 5 shearing teams that lived on the island, and in those days I think the sheep population was very close to 200,000. Now that's shrunk as a result of the decline in wool market and profitability, and we all struggled to get even one shearing group together to do the work. So in our case we find that we're usually having to import 1 or 2 shearers.
The relative isolation also comes at a price. Fuel is as much as 30% more expensive and groceries have to be shipped in. And over the past 12 months, the island has faced some serious transport issues. At times, exporting beef and lamb to Tasmania and Victoria was nigh on impossible, and islanders went close to running out of food. It all proved too much for some.
We just sold the farm and this is the last lot to get off. We're going to take them all home and, yeah, they've got to be killed and, yeah, send them out to slaughter and whatever. So, yeah, this is the last lot I got left on the island. We have to get, yeah, it's just too much freight. Everything was killing us with freight.
At the moment, this is how every sheep leaves this island. They're looking at a voyage of up to 20 hours to the port of Welshpool in Victoria's Western Gippsland.
What happens to your profit margins and that sort of thing with the shipping here?
I worked on about 50% loss with the cattle. That's what I worked on. With the weight they lose and the freight to get them across, you get 30% rebate back, but we worked it out, it was at least 50%. By the time they were weighed here to by the time they got the packing or whatever, you lost a lot of weight with stock because they stress out on the boat. But, you know, if it's a calm trip, it's good, but if it's rough, well, yeah, it just stresses them out.
Interstate regulations mean it's often harder to relocate livestock than it is to slaughter animals when they arrive in either Tasmania or Victoria.
You have to run double the amount of stock here to make the same check as what you would in Victoria or Tasmania, even Tasmania or Victoria or New South Wales, wherever, because it's just too hard on them.
One way to minimise the impact of freight costs would be to process more of the livestock at the island's abattoir.
The facility's been closed now since December, and it is in a poor state of repair, but we are working very hard as a council to support someone coming in. We even looked at it from a council perspective.
And they don't have to look far for inspiration. King Island had its abattoir bailed out by the Tasmanian government last year. The The owners, the giant Brazilian processors JBS Swift, were given a 15-year, $12 million loan to upgrade their meatworks. And with 15% of Tasmania's beef herd and almost 10% of its lamb, Flinders Island locals would like similar help.
Not that one. I definitely think we'd probably support what we're doing here and market our product. A bit like King Island have actually done a fantastic job with their product. And I think Flinders Island probably needs to get their name on the map a bit more.
With the facility closed at the moment, we're forced to export our livestock off the island. But for a community level and a sustainability level, like we've got such wonderful resource here, it seems pointless importing beef from and lamb from Tasmania or Victoria when it's all here. It just needs processing.
Despite the challenges, once a year, Flinders Island locals head into Whitemark for the local show, even if the weather's pretty ordinary.
I've gone with this, the big volume cow 163. She just has a little bit more frame about her.
There's no sideshow alley here, and if you want to ride, you have to bring your own. This is a chance to compare cattle and sheep against your neighbours, catch up and enjoy a quiet drink. Scott Anderson grows out his cattle on Flinders Island before finishing them off on mainland Tasmania.
Local show's one of those things, you like to support the local community, and it's one day that you get to throw out there what you do. So it's good to bring them in and give people a look.
The cattle judge was more than impressed. Tim Woodham manages stud stock for Tasmania's main rural supply business.
Tassie's recognised as a clean green state, and this is just another portion of Tassie and its own acknowledgement, Flinders Island, and beautiful pastures, and they're real good cattlemen over here. I've had the opportunity to judge the cattle, and they've put a lot of effort into buying good quality bulls over the time, so you can see the rewards.
Tim Woodham's been coming to the island for years and has seen a steady improvement in the herd. He rates Scott Anderson's steers as among the best on the island.
It's I think it's Flinders' natural advantages. We grow grass, good grass volumes of grass through the winter, and allows us to actually do it cheaply and grow them well.
The farmers are trying to meet specific markets, and the way that they're finishing, you can see a lot of quality in the carcass attributes that the cattle are here are just showing, and obviously the outcome is, the desired outcome is being reached.
Like most local bush shows, the Flinders event is run by volunteers. The Show Society president is Arthur Withers, who can still remember the first island show back in 1934.
Yes, this is our 76th show, and I'm a bit older than that, yes. But I can remember going to the first show, and that was held in the town of Whitemark, and along the side of the street, plus in the hall, and I can remember that quite well.
Has much changed since then?
Oh, I think so, yes, yeah. As far as machinery and stuff like that, there's certainly changed a lot.
Mr Withers joined the committee in his 70s because, well, he was getting bored.
We're proud of Flinders Island. We think it's the greatest place on earth, but I suppose everybody, thinks of their home like that. And not that I know everybody, but everybody, they talk to you even if they don't know you.
Out of town, the Grimshaw family run 750 head of Black Angus cattle on Clifton. Liz Grimshaw describes herself as a reformed vegan. In a former life, she lived in Melbourne and had a high-powered job with a multinational mining company.
It's completely different, and I would not go back to what I was doing before. Although I can use a lot of the skills that I learnt in my job, I sort of did that for about 10 years. A lot of those skills I think are directly transferable in terms of running a small business and having to do the longer term planning to run your business and make it work.
The businesswoman and mother of two has adapted quickly and is now applying some of the organisational skills she honed at the big end of town, running the island's farm productivity group.
There's quite a big group of us, and we run multiple, probably about every 6 weeks we get together to do some educational stuff, usually around technical things, so pastures, fertilisers. We've got a pasture trial here on at the moment, so we do a lot of that as a group.
She's also helping to benchmark the surrounding farmland against some of the most productive grazing properties in the country. And by any measure, Flinders Island stacks up pretty well.
We've got a number of farmers in our productivity group, beef, prime lamb and wool farmers, that are right up there with other production systems in terms of cost of production and profitability than you could pick right up the eastern seaboard in similar type country, eastern seaboard and western district Victoria and into Western Australia.
So why aren't there more young farmers looking to a future on Flinders Island?
There's no doubt this really is a beautiful place. On its own, that's probably not enough to lure the next generation of farmers here. Something that just might, though, is the price of land. It's about $2,500 a hectare. That's $1,000 an acre in the old scale. And the community's hoping that will help lure the next generation of farmers to Flinders Island.
We've got really good carrying capacity, and I think it's probably a pretty well kept secret. Unfortunately, now if it's on landline, it won't be so secret. And we know that's so because we do our benchmarking figures every year.
I would personally love to see some young farmers come. We've got a lot of farms up for sale for generations of my parents' generation, and they're at the point where they want to retire and just relax and enjoy life, and there's a lot of good farms up for sale at a reasonable price, so it'd be fantastic to see some young farmers come in.
And for those who might be tempted but still aren't quite sure, just try asking around. They'll tell you this is Australia's best kept secret.
It's a great place to live, it's a great community. It really does go back to Victoria 30 years ago, where people help each other, farmers help farmers, and it's a generous, egalitarian place to live.